Welcome to our countdown of the most mysterious UFO sightings from around the world that the government doesn't want you to know about. Buckle up, because these stories are out of this world. We're talking about encounters with unidentified flying objects, alien beings, and government cover-ups. So, if you're ready to dive into the unknown, get comfortable. And let's explore the most compelling UFO sightings that have baffled researchers, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for decades. Our journey begins in 1897 in Aurora, Texas, a small town like any other, until something truly bizarre happened. Imagine, if you will, a sleepy Texas town, and suddenly a cigar-shaped object comes crashing down from the sky. Witnesses described the craft as being made of a strange metallic material and said it was smoking and sputtering before it nosedived into a local farmer's well. Local newspapers reported that the pilot of the craft did not survive the crash, and they described the pilot as not of this world, suggesting an alien origin. The wreckage of the craft was reportedly buried in the nearby Aurora cemetery, and a simple, unmarked headstone was placed at the grave. For years, people in Aurora whispered about the crash, about the strange, otherworldly being buried in their local cemetery. But it wasn't until decades later that the story gained national attention, and people began to question what really happened in Aurora all those years ago. Was it a genuine UFO crash? Was the pilot really an alien being? Or is it just a tall tale, a product of overactive imaginations in a time before radio and television? Fast forward to 1946, and we find ourselves in Ängelholm, Sweden. This case is particularly interesting because it involves not just a UFO sighting, but an alleged encounter with the beings inside. Gösta Karlsson, a Swedish farmer, reported seeing a large, disc-shaped object land in the woods near his property. Gösta wasn't the type to make things up. He was a respected member of the community, known for his honesty and level-headedness. But what he claimed he saw that day was extraordinary. Gösta said that the craft had some kind of hatch on the side, and he watched as several beings emerged. He described them as being humanoid in shape, but much smaller than humans, with large heads and glowing eyes. He said they were communicating with each other, but he couldn't understand their language. Gösta watched, hidden in the tree line, as the beings moved around the craft, seemingly making repairs. After what felt like hours, but could have been minutes, the beings entered the craft, and it shot up into the sky, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Gösta's story was met with skepticism, of course, but there were also those who believed him. They pointed to his credibility, his detailed account of the event, and the fact that he never wavered from his story. The year is 1947, and the world is about to be introduced to a term that would forever change our understanding of the skies above: flying saucers. It all started with Kenneth Arnold, a businessman and pilot, who was flying his private plane near Mount Rainier in Washington state. As he was enjoying the scenic views, something caught his eye. 9 bright objects moving incredibly fast against the backdrop of the mountain. Arnold was a seasoned pilot. He knew his planes, he knew his weather patterns, and this was like nothing he'd ever seen before. He described the objects as being flat and round, like saucers skipping across the water, hence the term flying saucers, which would soon capture the public imagination. Arnold estimated the objects were traveling at speeds that were unheard of at the time, way faster than any known aircraft. His sighting sparked a wave of similar reports across the United States, and soon the term flying saucer was on everyone's lips. Newspapers were filled with stories of strange lights in the sky, of unidentified objects moving at impossible speeds. The government, initially dismissive, was forced to take notice. Kenneth Arnold's sighting wasn't just a single event, it was a catalyst. Just a few weeks after Kenneth Arnold's sighting, something happened that would become synonymous with the UFO phenomenon: the Roswell incident. It all started in the summer of 1947 on a ranch just outside of Roswell, New Mexico. A rancher named Mac Brazel discovered something strange in his pasture. A large debris field scattered with metallic fragments, unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Brazel reported his finding to the local sheriff, who then contacted the nearby Roswell Army airfield. Initially, the military issued a press release stating they had recovered a flying disc, seemingly confirming what everyone had been whispering about. But then, just a few hours later, the story changed. The military retracted their statement, claiming the debris was actually from a downed weather balloon, a very mundane explanation for something so strange. But the damage was done. The seeds of doubt had been sown. People questioned why the military would change their story so abruptly, why they would try to cover up the truth about what was found on that ranch in Roswell. Now let's journey to Florence, Italy in 1954. Picture this. It's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, and thousands of people are packed into the Stadio Artemio Franchi, eagerly awaiting the start of a soccer match between Fiorentina and Pistoiese. The atmosphere is electric, the crowd is roaring, and then everything stops. Players, coaches, fans, everyone looks up to the sky, their eyes drawn to a sight so strange, so unexpected, that it momentarily silenced the entire stadium. Hovering above the field were multiple cigar-shaped objects glowing brightly against the blue Italian sky. Witnesses described them as moving silently and effortlessly, defying gravity with an almost balletic grace. The objects remained visible for several minutes. Some witnesses even reported seeing a silvery, glitter-like substance falling from the sky before they shot off into the distance, disappearing as quickly as they had arrived. Thousands of people witnessed this event, and many of them described seeing the same thing, silent, cigar-shaped objects moving with an otherworldly agility. Our next stop takes us to the icy wilderness of the Ural Mountains in Russia, 1959. This is a story shrouded in mystery, tragedy, and unexplained phenomena. It's the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. A group of 9 experienced hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out on an expedition into the mountains. They were young, they were adventurous, and they were prepared for the challenges of the wilderness. But nothing could have prepared them for what they encountered. When the group failed to arrive at their designated checkpoint, a search party was sent out to find them. What they discovered was a scene that defied explanation. The hikers' tent was found ripped open from the inside, as if they had fled in a panic. Their belongings, including food and warm clothing, were left behind, scattered around the campsite. But it was the bodies that truly baffled investigators. Some were found partially clothed, some had strange injuries, and some had abnormally high levels of radiation. In 1978, in the rural Polish village of Emilszyn, a farmer named Jan Wolski experienced something that would change his life forever. Wolski claimed that while riding his horse-drawn cart home one evening, he encountered a strange, disc-shaped object hovering low over the road. He said that 2 beings emerged from the craft, describing them as short, with greenish skin and large black eyes. Wolski, a simple farmer, a man of few words, gave a detailed and disturbing account of what happened next. He claimed that the beings communicated with him telepathically, and then they took him aboard their craft. Inside, he said he was subjected to a series of medical examinations, which he found both frightening and humiliating. Wolski's story was met with skepticism, but it also gained a lot of attention. Our final stop takes us to the eerie landscape of Dechmont Law in Scotland, 1979. This is the story of Robert Taylor, a forester who had an encounter he could never forget. Taylor was out on his usual rounds, checking on the trees, when he came across something extraordinary. A large, spherical object hovering silently in a clearing. Taylor, a no-nonsense kind of guy, a man of the woods, not prone to flights of fancy, saw something undeniable. He described the object as being about 20 feet in diameter, metallic, with a dome on top. As he approached, curious and more than a little apprehensive, he noticed a strong, sulphurous smell, like rotten eggs. Suddenly, 2 small spheres, covered in what looked like spikes, detached from the larger object and rolled towards him. Taylor tried to run, but he tripped and fell. He said he lost consciousness, and when he came to, the objects were gone. He was shaken, disoriented, and his clothes were torn. He had scratches on his body and a strange, burning sensation on his legs. Taylor reported the incident to the police, who initially treated it as a joke, but when they saw the physical evidence, they realized this was something they couldn't explain. These are just a few of the many unexplained UFO sightings from around the world. What do you think? Are we alone in the universe, or is the truth out there? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysterious content.